Welcome back everybody to another video here at Coin and Capital, where we break down financial topics to help educate you on Bitcoin, macro, and the ever-changing world of finance. Here to make things that are complex a little more simpler. And recently we've just been working through a series called The Quiet Collapse of Canada, where I've been discussing the repressive regime that's been ongoing in my country for the last 10 so years. And this video, we're going to wrap it up in a nice bow. We're going to talk about how to exit and the effects it's had on our currency, purchasing power, and what we can do to avoid that. Hint, it's orange. So as always, let's align some concepts here that may be thrown around in the video so you can better understand them. Maybe you'll be reading a book, you'll see it pop up, you'll be like, hey, I know that. Maybe you'll drop it in conversation with some friends, maybe you'll hear it in some conversations. You'll be able to pick up on what's going on, okay? The first one we're gonna talk about is real negative rates. This one's pretty easy formula. We have the risk-free rate, what you're earning from a bond or from a GIC or a debt instrument, okay, what you're earning from helping the government finance its debt. Risk-free rate minus inflation equals real rate, okay? So the risk-free rate you're getting on your debt instrument is 3%, okay? And then the government comes and decides to print a lot of money. Maybe there's a pandemic, maybe there's a financial crisis, maybe people need stimulus. Oh no, inflation, up, 5%. Well, risk-free rate minus inflation, 3 minus 5, we now yield negative 2% on your debt instrument. Your real rate is negative. Currency debasement, okay? So we can think every financial system has a base. Every financial system is built on top of a currency. When we debase a currency, we jeopardize the integrity of the foundation of our entire financial system. When we print more currency units, we dilute that foundation. We make it less sturdy. We undermine the support of the whole system. Okay? Currency debasement equals currency devaluation equals less foundational integrity. System starts to wobble. It's like a house. It's like Jenga, actually. You start taking out too many bricks down below, whole thing starts to fucking shake. A second order effect, a symptom of the symptom, is that the bond markets become uninvestable. Okay? So when real rates go negative, when the risk-free rate becomes risky, the bond markets become unattractive to investors. Nobody wants to put their capital where it loses 3+% a year, right? That doesn't make any sense. You're investing to preserve purchasing power. Now that segues us quite well into our historical pattern of something called capital flight. So capital flight is when money is taken out of certain markets. Think equities, bonds, cryptos, forex, all these things are markets where capital flows in and out depending on macro environments, okay? More specifically in our context, capital flight occurs in these repressive regimes once these real rates go negative. Okay, so you have to understand that these billionaires, these hedge funds, the sovereign wealth funds have no allegiance to my country, to your country, to any country. They go where their capital is treated best. And most of the time in these repressive regimes, it's somewhere like a neutral commodity. So think gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And now some of these have better properties than others. We'll discuss that later, maybe another video. But essentially, the bottom line is they preserve your purchasing power at the very least, right? At the very least, you're just flatlining, not getting any better, not getting any worse. at the very best, you're increasing purchasing power while making a substantial return on your investments. So the first bits of data we're going to look into reflect losses but also gains in purchasing power in Forex markets. Okay, so we're going to look at currency specifically and see devaluations and appreciations in purchasing power there. And then the next one we're going to discuss is CPI. So CPI is the Consumer Price Index. It's the government's preferred way to measure inflation. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there's a multitude of ways to measure inflation, and it has changed over the years. So we're going to run some comparisons, and then we're going to decide which one we like to use, which one's more accurate, okay? And the final thing, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, okay? I don't understand how you can run a financial channel, financial account, financial personality on the internet and not be talking about Bitcoin. It's becoming that important. And you'll see why in a minute. Loss of purchasing power in a currency. Okay, we have two currency overlays here, both of them against the US dollar. So how many US dollars does it take to buy one unit of the other currency? Okay. The red line starts top left. Okay, this one's the Canadian dollar against the US dollar. So how many USD does it take to buy one Canadian? Starts top left. It ends bottom right. The next one behind that is Bitcoin USD. So how many US dollars does it take to buy one Bitcoin? It starts bottom left. It ends top right. So the Canadian dollar right now, it's about 70 US cents to buy $1. It's about $120,000 to buy one Bitcoin. Keep that in mind, people. Next off, Canadian inflation data from 71 onwards. So why 71? Because that's when we last had a commodity-backed money. We took the supply cap off our currency unit, and from there we were able to print as much as we wanted. So we know that printing more units debases the currency, devalues the currency. We can see that quite well. 71 rolls around. Bye-bye gold backing. Hello 10% inflation. Left charts. Remember how I was saying there's different ways to measure CPI, to measure inflation? So we have some US data here that shows two different ways. Now, if anybody knows a source to get Canadian shadow CPI, I would love to see it. Drop it in the comments down below. I would love to read it, maybe discuss it with you a little bit. That would be awesome. For now, we have US data. The blue line, shadow CPI. The yellow line, government CPI. So we know the government one can be heavily manipulated. So we have constant measurement versus a variable measurement. Okay, you decide which one you want to trust more. Because the constant is showing pretty fucking high inflation, man, compared to whatever the government decides to put out. Right chart. Focus on the left column here. We have pension returns in Canada annualized. About 10%. Okay. Pension funds, retirement funds, things people work their whole lives towards to eventually retire, maybe get a nice house on the lake, maybe take a trip with the wife. They return you 10% annualized. Okay, every year. But why am I saying this? Because in repressive regimes, real rates go negative. And we figured out in another video, in a previous video in this series, pensions are mandated to hold government bonds. We're running, let's be generous here, 8% inflation. Okay. Now, to figure out the real rate, you guys remember, the risk-free rate minus inflation, if you want to be more specific, minus debasement as well, we'll start with inflation, 10 minus 8. 2%. You get a gold sticker. Okay. That's okay. 2%. We can live with that, I guess. You stick on debasement now. So debasement and inflation are two separate things. Inflation is the effect on consumer goods and pricing. Debasement is the aggregate expansion of money supply, total money supply expansion. That's been roughly about 8% a year. So they're growing the money base, making new units, 8% increments. So 8 plus 8, 16, 10 minus 16, okay. Minus 6%, we discount me maybe 50% because I'm just talking on the internet here, man. So we're left with minus 3%. Okay, you're working 40 years of your life, your pension's returning you minus 3%, 3 times 40. Well, fuck me, man. You just lost 120% of your purchasing power, and you just worked 40 years of your life for that. Let that sink in. Okay. Pension funds, 10%. The hurdle rate is 16. If we discount me 50% from the debasement rate, we get minus 3% real rates. Where do we go? It's orange. It's decentralized. It has a fixed supply. It's immutable. It's transparent. It's Bitcoin. Starts in the bottom left, ends in the top right. We can see here, every time the dollar bottoms, Bitcoin peaks. Coincidence? I think not. Something that's infinite in supply gets devalued, while others that have scarce supply, fixed supply, limited supply in this world, increase in value. Where would you like to store your money? Okay, I encourage you guys to watch this video again. Show it to your mom, show it to your dad, play it for your grandma. Anybody could really learn a thing or two here. Hopefully you guys do. If so, drop a comment down below. I'd love to talk to you guys. Love to discuss these topics more in depth with you guys. If you enjoyed, hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe. I'm really trying to build a community here, help as many people as I can with financial education, financial literacy. One of the most important things that's skipped in school. So here I am, filling the gap for you guys. Check out the Substack link down below. It's research published by my fund where we look at these macro factors more in depth to help us position for the coming years. And as always, it's been Chris from Coin and Capital. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.